Never mind Brock Boeser. Never mind Connor Garland. Anthony Beauvillier is the main trade target for the Vancouver Canucks, or at least he should be. We're going to tell you about that next. It's Beggsy and Bhawan, and you're listening to Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's starting to feel like the offseason's coming up. A big trade this week between the Blue Jackets, Kings, and Flyers, and we're only 3 weeks to the draft. Let's go, baby. But for now, you're listening to Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, Canucks writer and credentialed media member for Daily Hive, Vancouver. Today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL, and when you enter promo code LockedOnNHL, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. Before we dive into today's show, we want to thank you for listening to Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. On today's show, we got to talk about the guy that the Canucks should trade, and that's Anthony Beauvillier. Also going to talk about Vladislav Gavrikov. Everydayers know this, but we did an episode a couple months back about how he should sign with the Canucks, why the Canucks should sign him in free agency. Big problem now because he has now re-signed with the Los Angeles Kings. So going to talk about that and the D market in general, how the Canucks can find the next top 4 defenseman. That's going to help this team get to bigger and better things. But speaking again to bigger and better things, you know, I'm only getting to bigger and better things because of that guy beside me here, Kyle Bhawan. Oh, this way, Kyle Bhawan. Kyle Bhawan?
Yeah,
this way. How you doing,
we switched
buddy?
order, man. We switched sides, right? It makes more sense this way. Locked On Canucks, Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs, your team every day. I'm excited for this episode, and I'm excited to get to the end of the show because we got a lot of comments on JT Miller. Yes, every time we make an episode about that guy, it's a good day. It's a good day for business, man. JT Miller, man. But hey, enough about him. Let's just stick to Anthony Beauvillier. Let's stick to the script. And Beggsy, I'll tell you this. I was driving into the studio today, and what made the most sense for me just for like 10 minutes was these two things. Buy out OEL and trade Beauvillier. I just feel as if those two things are the easiest things for this team to do to clear cap space out. And I feel as if I am not setting the bar high for the management group when it comes to their creativity levels. And I guess to speak English, I don't trust Alvin and Rutherford one bit in their ability to get rid of Boeser and Garland as cap dump moves. Don't see it. I feel as if they're going to go the easy route. And those two seem like the easiest things to do.
Yeah, well, I don't doubt you. I can't fault you for not having faith in them for clearing cap space because that was the first thing they talked about 18 months ago was how this team needs to clear cap space. And what have they done to do about it? They haven't really done anything about it. They've added Mikheyev, they've added Hronek, they've added to this mess now, right? And even I don't even really want to include Kuzmenko, but he's another guy making a lot of money next season on the books, although he definitely deserves it. But let's talk about Anthony Beauvillier because, yeah, so much of the talk in this market is about Boeser and Garland, and we've talked about it a couple of times recently. The idea of trading, you know, Boeser or Garland and the 11th overall pick to Chicago or another team below the Canucks for, let's say, the 19th overall pick and maybe a second rounder. When I think about that, it's like you look at Boeser, you look at Garland, you look at Beauvillier, and Beauvillier of the three has the most value, and it's all because of the contract. So it's every time we talk about a Boeser Garland trade, it irks me a bit because you're selling these guys for pennies on the dollar just because they're signed to multi-year contracts. So when I look at Beauvillier, again, he's making $4.15 million next season, and then he's a UFA. He's the guy that makes the most sense to trade here. And if you want to look at, you know, a comparable trade, there's a few comparable trades. But if you want to look at one from the draft last year, the Ottawa Senators traded Connor Brown to the Washington Capitals for a second round pick. When you look at that, it's like, why shouldn't Anthony Beauvillier be worth a second round pick? You know, Connor Brown was getting paid $3.6 million at the time. Beauvillier 4.1. But again, Beauvillier is a better player than Connor Brown. He's younger. He's got that playoff experience. So I don't know, Kyle. I'm leaning towards the Canucks, you know, trading Anthony Beauvillier. I'm a fan of the idea, even though he brought some value to the Canucks last season. But how does that make you feel, trading Beauvillier over instead of Garland or Boeser?
I'm going to be straight up honest, man. Straight up honest. I enjoy watching Beauvillier play more than I do enjoy watching Brock Boeser play. It's just the truth. I think he brings something else to the table, and I daydream about Beauvillier in the playoffs, not Brock Boeser. So I don't feel completely satisfied, but again, I just lack the confidence that Rutherford and Alvin and this management group is going to be able to unload on Besser's contract without really, really selling him for under $1. I feel as if they're going to be a little stubborn and they're going to want some value back. And I just don't think in this era of the NHL, teams are willing to take Besser at value. They want him on the low. And you brought up Garland as well. And anytime we talk about those two players, there's sweeteners involved, right? And with Beauvillier, it's none of that. It's none of that. That being said, man, don't you think that management really, really enjoyed the fact that Beauvillier is on this team? They traded for him. He was a big part of that Horvat trade. He seems to be one of the only pieces, left in that actual trade. I know they got Hronek, but I feel as if when Alvin was, BSing about the fact that they got 3 first-rounders for Bo Horvat, he was really saying how satisfied he was that he actually got Beauvillier back too. And he looked good as a Vancouver Canuck. And we got to bring up Pettersson too for two reasons. I think that Beauvillier, and a lot of players can do this with Pettersson, okay? But I look at a guy like Zach Hyman, and I feel as if Beauvillier can do the same thing with Pettersson. Now, you could say the same thing about Mikheyev as well. Let's be honest. Let's be real. We don't need 5 Mikheyevs on the team. There's some truth to that. The other thing is, I feel as if this team has to really, really attempt to be creative and get contracts off the book so they're able to be cap compliant and build around the Pettersson contract. And Beauvillier's a free agent next season, or he's off the books next season, whereas the other 2 contracts, they're still here. They're still here. And I feel as if this team needs room so they can really, really hammer down that Pettersson contract. Am I sounding crazy here?
No, I don't think you're sounding crazy, but I will make this point. I think the fact that Beauvillier looked so good on the Canucks last season is the reason they should trade him. Because Connor Garland didn't have his best season. Brock Boeser definitely didn't have his best season. But Beauvillier, on the other hand, the guy scored at the same rate as Bo Horvat. Trade this guy for 3 first-round picks. You know what I'm saying? But I think not only are you selling high on Beauvillier, I think you're just getting more value out of him than you are out of Garland or Boeser. And yeah, I would much rather trade Beauvillier if, let's say, it's for a low-end second-round pick, which I think is realistic. I would much rather trade Beauvillier than package Garland or Boeser just to move down in the draft and get off those salaries. And I guess I want to make this point too. With Boeser and Garland, again, the fact that they're on those multi-year deals is a problem for the Canucks. But at the end of the day, I just think trading Beauvillier is the way to go here.
Yo, and answer that. It wasn't a question, but I guess I did ask you, do I sound crazy? Do I sound crazy when I say things like I prefer watching Beauvillier play over Brock Boeser? I know Brock Boeser is the better offensive player. He's probably the better overall player, But again, I keep thinking about how a guy like Beauvillier would look when the games matter. And there's been a lot of times where Boeser, even though he's an intelligent player and he finds the holes and he's able to pick up points, I feel as if he's unnoticed a lot of times, where I think Beauvillier gives you more game in and game out. But again, can this team move forward with a Mikheyev, a Beauvillier, and a Garland on their team? You get what I'm saying? I feel as if
and not to mention a Höglander as well.
And
actually, it's funny that you thought about Mikheyev. I'm thinking about Beauvillier, Garland, and Höglander all being kind of similar players, like below average size, but they're little spark plug players with some offensive capabilities. I do think Boeser brings something different, but I won't say you're crazy for liking Beauvillier over Boeser, because I think with every fan, like, you get a new player on the team and he's like the shiny new object, right? Like Beauvillier came here, looked good, whereas Boeser, on the other hand, is the longest tenured Canuck on this team. You know what I mean? So people are inherently less excited about Boeser just because he's been here a long time. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think Boeser still has a better ceiling than a guy like Beauvillier. And I hate the idea of trading for pennies on the dollar. We talked before about how he could probably use a fresh start, but then again, he could also come back to the Canucks next season and be a much better player too, So
Begsy,
that was funny.
they can't continue to come back with the same guys, man. They can't continue to come back with the same guys, especially in the beginning of September. Boeser's got 2 years left. I know the number, the cap hit is way too much for a guy like Brock Boeser. But again, use your energy, use your intelligence, make phone calls, and try to make it happen. Because they need cap relief. And again, they can't just walk into September with the same core. I don't think that's good for anyone. It's pretty insane, to be honest.
Yeah, I see the point there. Again, it's all about value though, and I don't like the idea of selling low on Brock Boeser. I much prefer the idea of selling high on Anthony Beauvillier. Let us know how you're feeling in the comments. Would you rather trade Anthony Beauvillier for a low end second round pick, or would you rather trade Brock Boeser in the 11th overall pick for, let's say, the 19th overall pick and another second round pick as well? Let's leave it up to the commenters, Kyle. On the other side, though, let's talk about another guy who's making some big bucks, and that's Vladislav Gavrikov, who just signed with the LA Kings. So his dreams of coming to the Canucks. I don't know if it was his dreams or maybe it was our dreams, but those dreams have died regardless. Speaking of dreams dying, Kyle, you and I are feeling we're getting older, grumpier, crustier. And for guys like us, we need to prioritize comfort. That's why we got to chuck out the skinny jeans and slide our hairy legs into some Bird Dogs apparel. Kyle, I got to say, man, I even got compliments, not just from my wife, but from my mother-in-law and from my in-laws about how good these shorts looked. Okay. And I got to say, us Locked On hosts, we got some free swag. If we sign up for Bird Dogs, I got a couple of free pairs of shorts and that Yeti tumbler that they keep talking about. You'll get one too if you make an order. Kyle, I think you missed the boat, man. You didn't sign up in time.
You got the stuff.
Yeah, I got two pairs of shorts and I got the tumbler, man. So Kyle, you missed out, buddy. You missed out.
I did.
Yeah, it was a short period of time. So now, it was a debate between who's better looking between Kyle and I, but now it's definitely me because I'm rocking Bird Dogs. Yeah, it's more than just men's clothing. Find out for yourself by going to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL. When you enter promo code LockedOnNHL, they're going to throw in that free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler that I use every morning now. Let's go, baby.
Wow. Shout out to Bird Dogs. And you're back. Yes, you're back on Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bhawan. Trevor, the internet connection is always a bit of an issue sometimes, right? Once a week, twice a week, it happens, right? It happens at your workplace. Well, what's going on? Are people watching pornography? I don't know. Who knows, man? Who knows what's happening? All I know is that we're here. Yeah. We're toughing it out. And you know what, Beggsy? I'm proud of you. You're toughing it out. You're toughing it out through Wi-Fi problems. You're doing your best, right? And you're also doing this when you should probably be on the phone with your wife, man. I'm not going to lie. Hectic situation. You take a look at the phone just in case, right? So all your eyes light up.
Yeah,
I just want you to know, as a Canuck fan, I'm not even talking to you like your co-host right now. As a Canuck fan and somebody watching this, I appreciate your effort, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you, buddy, and I'll appreciate you more as you're taking over solo for a few days here. I don't know. Maybe you're going to bring friends on. Maybe you won't. Maybe it'll just be the Kyle Bhawan show here.
Dude,
Actually, it won't be the Kyle Bhawan show because it's Locked On Canucks.
Hey, true. Locked On Canucks. It's not about Kyle Bhawan. It's about the people. We'll get to Comment Corner at the end of the show. But right now, we got to talk about Gavrikov because we made a couple episodes talking about him potentially being a target for the Vancouver Canucks. And this is the time for me to, again, ask you questions and learn a thing or two, because I've heard that the market, the free agent market, let alone the defensive market this offseason is so slim. It's so slim. Yet I know you got some names that could replace Gavrikov on this list the Canucks have of, again, defensemen that they need to target to, build around Hughes and have somebody play with Hronek. So who are these other defensemen outside of Gavrikov?
Oh, man, honestly, it is a slim market. I will say first and foremost, Vladislav Gavrikov again. We talked about him as a target. He has now signed a 2-year extension with the Los Angeles Kings worth $5.875 million per season. It's an interesting deal because I think, Kyle, you and I talked about him being in that kind of $6 million range if he hit the free agent market. So maybe a little bit of a discount here with the Kings, especially considering that it's only a 2-year deal. I think we were all thinking this guy was going to get maybe the Louis Eriksson special in free agency, like the 6x6. But here he is with the Kings on just a 2-year deal with the shade under $6 million. So Yeah, I personally like Gavrikov a lot. I know the analytics weren't a huge fan of him, but I just think from watching him in LA, he was a really, really solid player. But yeah, at the end of the day, that's one of the biggest free agents in terms of defensemen now off the market. And really, you're kind of going to veterans bargain bin territory, I feel like, for the most part, in terms of the defense market. So I'll go through a couple names, but first and foremost, I would say my favorite target for the Canucks probably at this point would be Ryan Graves. And again, this only really happens if they clear cap space properly. Like if they do buy out OEL and decide to slide another guy into the top four. Ryan Graves, I wrote about him being a good target for the Canucks a couple of years back before he got traded from Colorado to New Jersey. I believe at the time he got traded for a 3rd-round pick. But the guy's really settled in. He's a good number 4 or 5 defenseman, 6'5", 215, somewhere in that range. And again, more of a defense first guy, which we've said time and time again. That is the type of player you want playing with Filip Hronek.
Yeah.
But yeah, here, Kyle, I'll list off some of the other defensemen available in the market here.
Luke Shen.
Well, I'm looking more. Let's look at the big names, because the quote unquote big names are not so big. So I'm just going to go by points right now and cap friendly.
Can I touch on something too? Like, do you think that Gab? Again, sorry to cut you off and being super abrasive. So, what's the guy's name? I don't even know.
Unplugged.
Sorry, Unplugged. Had to cut Trevor off there, but I just want to touch on this. Gavrikov obviously signed this deal for only 2 years because Milstein, who is his agent, and he represents a lot of players across the board. I feel as if he would know a thing or two, and that salary cap is probably going up after 2 years by a lot. I'm thinking that's when, all this post-COVID trauma on the salary cap is no longer a thing, and the cap goes up $5 to $6 million after 2 years. Is that a rumbling? Am I sounding dumb for that? Again, 2-year deal. You never know what's going to happen on the ice, but he is betting on himself that after 2 years, he becomes a free man and gets to sign another big deal.
Yeah, and I haven't looked that closely at the Kings cap situation. I do know that they were able to make that deal after the Provorov trade. So they got rid of Cal Peterson, one of the worst contracts in the league. The guy's struggling in the AHL, making $5 million a season. They took on a couple million of Provorov's contract. But that was the reason they were able to sign Gavrikov, because they freed up that cap space in that 3-way Provorov trade. I don't think you're crazy. I will say that I think in 2 years from time, you're right. I think it's even a good chance that in a year's time, the cap goes up significantly as well, which would be a breath of fresh air to every team around the league, but especially your Vancouver Canucks, who have the worst cap situation in the NHL right now. Kyle and I did talk about that in depth already. So go check that out on the Locked On Canucks feed, wherever you listen to podcast. Free agents on the defense market here. So I'm just going to list off them in terms of points right now. Kind of a slim market, but you got Eric Gustafsson, Shane Gostisbehere, Dmitry Orlov, John Klingberg, Damon Severson, Kevin Shattenkirk, Ryan Graves, Brian Dumoulin, Scott Mayfield, and Connor Clifton. Luke Shen, actually, let's bring up 11 and 12. Luke Shen and Travis Hamonic round out the top 12 free agent defensemen in terms of points from last season. So, it's slim pickings, Kyle. It's slim pickings. And out of those names, Ryan Graves is really the name I like most out of that list.
And can you dive into your analysis on Severson? Is that his name? What's his name?
Damon Severson.
Yeah. So again, Graves, you can touch on him as well, but I feel as if I saw tweets about potentially a deal to be made between Severson and the Canucks. Is that like some local thing or
Friedman talked about, I can't remember. I think he said the Canucks would have interest if Severson hit free agency. Severson is one of those defensemen who, he plays the right side, which, long term the Canucks need to figure out, because it's really just Hronek there. But going into next season, if they re-sign Bear, you're going to have Bear, Hronek, and Myers, unless you think Myers ends up in the AHL. But at the end of the day, I just don't think Severson's going to be worth his next contract. He's more of an offense-first defenseman, not as sound defensively. He is prone to the big mistake. I've heard actually some like Ben Hutton comparables. We used to talk about Ben Hutton kind of having that offensive flair, but prone to the big mistake as well. So, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of David Severson's game, especially if he signs for like $4 million, $5 million a year in free agency. So, Again, that's just Trevor Beggs' opinion. If you don't like it, let me know. If you like it, also let me know.
Thank
because,
you. Thank you.
Like to hear good things.
You know what, Beggsy? You're a nice guy. And you're optimistic and you want to watch good hockey too. And by the sounds of it, you actually hate this guy. Do not sign Severson or whatever this guy's name is from New Jersey. Don't do it. Don't do it. I feel as if there's this aura around big contract bust, and the Canucks, who have failed for so long with their pro scouting, it got a little bit better over the last 12 months. Let's be honest. The Mikheyev deal. I got to give them the benefit of the doubt. He proved to be a better player and on one knee than I thought he would be. But this time around, again, they got to hit a home run. They cannot have a 50. They can't have this guy be average that they're going to give a big contract to if they end up going down that path. It's one of those things too. I feel like I sound so crazy because if you asked me last year, there's no way I would want this team to clear out cap space and spend it right away. But they had to get Hronek, dude. They had to get Hronek. And it's totally flipped my whole perspective on what next season is. And it's just like, load it up. Let's go. Load it up and get it right.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same as you, Kyle. I was in that, let's rebuild mode. Let's figure this out. Let's collect assets. Let's collect draft picks. And it's just not happening. Obviously, they've re-signed JT Miller. They've traded for Hronek. Next season matters. Next season matters.
Next season matters.
Maybe on another episode, we'll go through some bargain bin defenseman targets. I've written about it already for Daily Hive, but let's not dive into it now because I think it's time to cut to the comments. Man, who wants to hear about me ramble about bargain bin defenseman? Let's get to the comments, baby. But first, I need to tell you to make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs because right now customers get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's $2,500 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Kyle's got the Heat back to Miami in Game 3. You know what? I'd probably be putting some money on the Nuggets to go up 2-1 in this series. Look, Nikola Jokic got 41 points in Game 2. I know the Heat aren't going to slow him down, but I just think they only won by a hair in Game 2. I'd be liking the Nuggets in Game 3. But no matter how you're betting or what you're betting, go make sure you do it on FanDuel because they got great promotions every day. The app is safe and secure, and you get paid instantly. No waiting. Let's go. There's no better place to bet on all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
You're back on Locked On Canucks. We're getting through it. with the Wi-Fi issues because we care about the people. Pregnant wife or not, we're getting through it, okay? We're getting through it. I ignored my girlfriend's call too. I'm not going to lie. I did it. This is the energy that we have here, okay? No matter what, it's your team every day. It's Trevor Beggs, it's Kyle Bhawan, and it's you, the people, yes, the everydayers, and the people who are not watching this too. We're sending you love. For real. Go Canucks, go. Like us or not. Again, go Canucks. Go. Comment corner starting now. First comment goes to Vipers Whip, okay? And this is in regards to the episode yesterday, right? Is JT Miller underappreciated in Vancouver? And Vipers Whip said, we don't appreciate him. No, we don't underappreciate him. I'm sorry. One of the reasons we wanted him traded is because of the haul we would have gotten had they actually gone through with it. And I kind of forgot about that, man. You know how I've been so pro JT? It's been pretty much post-contract signing. I did forget there was that time where there were rumblings of a big haul going our way when he still had 1 year left on that first deal, right? $5.5 million or whatever. We also got Kemper Canucks. Shout out to that guy too. I think he makes some Canuck videos too. Go check him out, right? I think our fans appreciate JT but hate the contract. And I say this. Can we appreciate JT if we hate the contract? I don't know if we let's just show him love, man. I think he puts up the points in this NHL, in this era of NHL hockey. And I think, again, there's going to be some promise next year with the Canucks and what he does on the power play. He's going to pick up his points. I still think he's worth the money. The term, we threw out the names, right? The Joel Pavelskis, who know, maybe 3-4 years from now, the Jonathan Mustard-Salka type of contribution. $8 million is a lot of money, though. You're right. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'm all over the place.
I mean, thanks again to Vipers Whip and Camper Canucks for the comments there. I would say, Vipers Whip said that we don't underappreciate him. It's just that, we could have gotten a big haul for him. I think that's exactly the reason he is underappreciated by Canucks fans, is because, if they did trade him in 2021, 22, when he was basically a top 10 scorer in hockey, they would have gotten a massive haul for him. And it is hard to forget that. But I think, that with the contract, it clouds JT Miller's excellence, honestly. And yeah, I know he's got his flaws as a hockey player, but again, we talked about it yesterday. This is a guy who has the 12th most points in the NHL over the last 4 seasons. That's a massive sample size there.
That is.
So yeah, I do think, again, he is underappreciated for multiple reasons there.
Yeah, and first of all, that is a large sample size. 4 seasons, it's a lot of games. He stays pretty healthy, and maybe that's another reason why I've been so pro JT, is because maybe subconsciously I have been thinking about the haul and realizing that we won't even get close to that like 2 years later or a year and a half later. It's just making me think that there's no point in selling low on JT, especially when the team is bought in. The team is bought in and they need to win. You remember that Pedersen quote a couple years ago? He wants to compete. Now, obviously, JT Miller being on his team hasn't really allowed that equation to pan out his way, but I don't think they can get rid of the 12th best scorer in the NHL over the last 4 years and have Pedersen be okay with it. Even though, I just don't see it happening, and I'm trying to just send that good energy out there. And go JT. Shout out to Justin Timberlake. Shout out to this comment as well from Yogesh Bouncell. Okay, Kyle and Trevor, you boys are getting better day by day. Nothing but love, man. Nothing but love. That's all it is, man. Again, through Wi-Fi problems, we out here doing it for the people. We want to connect to the city, connect to the fans. Want to gear up for next season. Want to put that good voodoo out there, spread the love, and hopefully, I was daydreaming about this too. Hopefully, we're talking about hockey and meaningful hockey games in the middle of November. You know what I'm saying? Early on, we're just hyped up about the team, and that's all I want. Shout out to Yogesh, and then we had Lawrence Coe talk about how he got a custom jersey created. JT Miller jersey. Got that, paid for that stuff, put that number 9 on the jersey, and he got it signed. And I told him the JT and JT Miller stands for Lawrence Coe, who was the commenter, okay? Because he's a true fan of JT Miller. He's spreading that love. Yeah. And shout out to Lawrence, man. I haven't seen his name around, and welcome to Comment Corner.
Welcome to Comment Corner. Welcome to the Locked On Canucks family. It's funny. Like, even when I'm at the rink covering games, it's nice being in the media booth because you can kind of get an eagle eye of like a number of different NHL jerseys and fans who wear Canucks jerseys. I rarely ever see any JT Miller jerseys.
No way.
Which is weird because he's, again, one of the best players on the team, but just all the trade rumors and then like the bad taste from the contract. There's really
and the team doesn't win, bro. The team doesn't win. They're not buying no jerseys. You're not like,
but they are buying jerseys. Like I see way more Kuzmenko. I see way more Podkolzin, and I see way more Höglander jerseys than I do JT Miller jerseys.
Damn, bro. Okay, I was wrong on that. I would never buy a Canucks jersey right now. You gotta win, bro. You gotta win. Make us excited. Make us want to pay more. I don't know, man. It's like winning obviously fixes everything, and I think JT Miller. There's still room for, again, the equation to have JT Miller a part of it and it lead to wins. But that equation should minus Brock Boeser. They cannot come back with the same core. They got to get rid of one of those pieces. You know what I'm saying? It makes a lot of sense. Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bhawan. Beggsy, sending you love. The end of the show. We got through it. Shout out to the Wi-Fi. Maybe, just the hockey gods are looking after us. That we did the best we could. And I'm happy for the show, and I'm happy for you. Another day. You're probably a little stressed out. I'm sending you peace. Everything's gonna go well, and just sending you good health, man. For real, for you and your fam.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. I hope that my wife's birth is smoother than trying to record this episode. I think this took us like 4 tries just based on my office Wi-Fi issues. It's my fault. I'm using Windows 95, so that's my apologies.
It happens.
The listeners. But again, thanks for listening. Yeah, but thanks for listening to this episode of Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Shout out to the everydayers. If this is your first time listening, welcome. We love you. Stay a little while because we got shows coming out 5 days a week. We're going to touch on Brock Boeser, how he can bounce back with the Vancouver Canucks next season. Again, assuming that he's, of course, a Vancouver Canuck. Also got to touch on Podkolzin and Höglander. And then Kyle's got some solo shows coming up if and when my wife goes into labor. So check that out. I think I'm more of the hockey nerd. Kyle, I think, speaks truly for the fans. So I'm excited to tune into that when I'm rocking my baby to sleep at 3 a.m. But for now, I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Bhawan, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.